Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Yes, here I am, all amped up, ready to hold space, and ready to, and being grateful. I was listening to what Todd was saying. He said, I'm grateful to be together. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so true. I'm so grateful that you guys are showing up. I saw Tim here. I saw me and my shadow here. Awesome. Pull a seat up. It is time to hold some space. It is going to be an amazing episode. One of my favorite people to talk to is going to be joining me, Suri Sawyer. I feel like a conversation with her is like, it's like a deep look in the mirror at things you didn't even know you wanted to say or think. And that's what I love about speaking with her. So I'm excited about that. I see Sherry sharing. Thank you so much. I see Jennifer reminding me to tell you guys to type hashtag live or just hashtag anything. If you type in the comments, what that does is it tickles the algorithm and says something's going on. Maybe show it to some more people. Let's grow this community. I love this network, Sacred Spiral. I love the people who show up here to see the shows. Evelyn, good to see you. Always here in support. It's amazing. People coming from Canada, people coming from the UK. I love it. It's amazing. So let's get ready. Let's clear the space. Let's set the intention. I love this part. It's only like 60 seconds, so bear with me. But we're going to clear the space. We're going to set the intention. I've got Sage here, ready to breathe, do some breathing. We're going to breathe in through the nose. We're going to hold it at the top. Sometimes I'll tell you to pull it in a little bit deeper or hold it a little bit longer, but it's basically breathing. You guys know how to do it. So let's do it together. 3 breaths that we're going to share and just kind of set the intention. So here we go. First breath in, up to the top, hold it and push it out. Feel it. Oh, I love feeling that first breath and like my whole body like just melt. Next one. Breathe in, hold it up at the top just a little bit and let it out. Let your shoulders drop. Just feel it. Feel yourself relax into it. And the last one together. One more. Breathe in through the nose. Hold it up at the top. Just deflate. Let it out. Let it out. It feels so good. Breathing is fundamental. My favorite thing. So what's up from Canada? I see everybody there. I see Kim Princess just walked in the door. Nice to see you too. I wanted to share something before I got started here. I shared this on the live stream on Thursday, but last Monday I had an amazing experience. Or was it Monday or was it Sunday? No, it was Monday. Monday night, I worked at Emerge Holistic Center. This woman who owns it, Vanessa Calafiero, is amazing, and she has this space that I thought was good for this vision that I've been having about doing an immersive sound healing. I do a lot of stuff with the projectors and projecting on the walls and creating a immersive environment. And so New Year's, we had New Year's there with Hardy, a New Year's celebration. And I met her and I told her about my vision and she said, come on, let's do it. And we did this immersive yoga, bhakti yoga class as an experiment. And it was like multi-sensory, because the yoga, obviously you're moving around, you're moving your body, you're feeling your body, but she also had Melissa playing the hand drums. She was playing a harmonium, and there were crystal bowls, and so there was a sound aspect to it. There was lighting of Palo Santo and oils, so there was a smell aspect to it, and I was creating an experience on the walls. This little video I have was the night before. We were just kind of preparing, and I want to show. Oh, this is not a window. This is a video. I want to show Vanessa just kind of setting up the space and what it looked like, and then I'm going to just share 2 quick videos, and then we're going to bring on Suri. So I'm excited for that. But let's just take a look at what we have here. This is the initial test.
Walk through the valley of shadow and light. Take a long deep breath, bring spirit to light. Reality reflects the one heart and mind. So close my eyes. Earth, sun, stars, and sky, and meditate on your light. Open my heart and free my mind as I walk the path leading divine.
Yep, and it just cuts off there. So I didn't mean to cut them off. We were just experimenting. So that was us getting set for the night. And then this is a little bit of the actual night itself. And it was just such an amazing experience. I just wanted to share this with you guys. And let me see where this is. I believe this is the video for that. So it was reactive to the sound. You can see the lights, the projecting, reacting to the drum.
And just allow yourself to take in the energy of the room through all of your senses. See what you're seeing. Hear what you're hearing. Smell what you're smelling. Taste what you're tasting.
So Angelo is asking to add psilocybin or DMT in. You're a bad boy. But anyway, it was really such an amazing thing to collaborate with, because I was just doing the graphics, but to have the live music and to have the leading of the visions or the meditation or the yoga, it just kind of like, it just all went together really nice. And I'm excited to be doing it some more in the future. It looks like we're going to try to put together something once a month over there. But it was amazing. And thank you for letting me show that. And I appreciate you guys. But anyway, I was talking to Suri before, and I was talking to her about kind of some of the things that I got from the experience resonating with the singing and the chanting, and magic happened, as it always does. And we have some amazing stuff to talk about. So I'm going to welcome to Holding Space one of my favorite magical beings on the planet, Suri Sawyer. What's happening, Suri?
Aloha. I also really want to quickly run in here and say, Angelo, you're not a bad boy. In fact, it's genius. Add DMT and psilocybin to everything.
Add it to everything. You know what? I got to say, psychedelics are definitely finally getting some good attention, and not like, stereotypes and more like medical backing up, the actual effects of it. So yes, I guess I just said that. I was just joking around, but
I
yeah.
understand that you were joking around. Yes. And I just took a friend of mine to task. We were conversating about a friend of his, and he used a derogatory term to describe her. And I said, hey, what do you really mean and what do you really want to say? Because to just throw out a derogatory term about a female, I'm not okay with that. I actually want to know what's triggering you and what bothers you without the name calling. And it's similar with plant medicine. There is a narrative that belongs to essentially the government and conservative Christians that says all of these things are a certain way. But if you've ever looked on the other side, everything you just said is actually mute. Like, oh, I was just trying to be such and such and such. To what degree, right? And to who are you pleasing? Because there have been people for thousands of years that have been using psychedelics in a healthy way, and they would be perturbed by the conversation. Like DMT is important, psilocybin is important, ayahuasca is important. All of these medicines are advocates of our spiritual well-being, as well as the origin of our language. There's a book by Terence McKenna called The Food of Gods, and it essentially distills the art that all language arrived because of psychedelics. And
is that's related to imagining the stoned ape theory?
The stone ape theory, as well as all of our spiritual concepts. Most of our spiritual concepts came about because animals / people were doing psychedelics and touching different dimensional planes. So actually most of what we know in modern psychology and modern life is actually a byproduct of people eating psychedelics. And then suddenly they became banned. And so my plea is bring them back.
Bring them back. I'm
back.
I'm for it. I'm totally for it. And you know what? That's why I love talking to you, because language is so important. And we've talked a lot about that, and we talk about words all the time. And, you know, I am certainly guilty of letting words slip out without actually like processing and thinking about what I'm saying. And it's just kind of like conditioning and things like that. But the cool thing is being aware of it. And it's that moment, right? Like you said, talking derogatory statements about women, you know, like all of the time, I am noticing myself judging. Right. And it's like, and I love it. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Why did I say exactly what you said? Like, why am I saying that? And I try to kind of, you know, look at myself in the mirror. You know, why am I being triggered by this, or why am I being triggered by that? And, you know, it's not all the time. You know, I think there are moments that language, like there are exceptions, right, to the rule, or there are moments that the language isn't so, there's nothing so deep about it. It's just surface level, you know, momentary, you know.
I want to challenge you on that though.
Okay, challenge. Do it.
All right. So all words are spells. All words have frequency. Every syllable sound wave that we cast from our mouth is casting a spell.
Sure.
And it is actually very important that we're cautious, careful, and aware of what comes out of our mouths. And there was a moment in which you were like, you bad boy. And I was like, shame. I don't know if it's your shame. I don't know if it's the shame that you cast over people who want to bring psilocybin to a sound journey. But our vocabulary is we need to be impeccable with it, because every single sound wave that we release from our mouth with the motivation and intention, as well as with the collective agreement about what a word means, we're launching ships with every word we speak. We're casting spells.
Sure. I agree with that. I agree with that. But let me challenge you back.
Challenge me back. I can't wait.
There's also another part of casting a spell.
See?
And that is intention.
See.
So the intention and the words may not always, it's not like for each word there's only one intention, right? It's like those are two different variables in the way it's spoken and the energy it's cast with. Right?
Absolutely. Yes. So with everything that we speak, there are multiple factors to consider. What's your motivation? What's the collective agreement about the word that you're speaking? And a more complex thing is the person or people that you're speaking to. What is their understanding of the definition of that word?
Totally. And And when you came on and you said, wait, not a bad boy, like I instantly knew exactly what you're talking about and felt that whole thought process, right? About wait,
Mhm.
why did I say that? I said it because it was just quickly not being processed 100%. And it was like, who was I trying to please? Exactly what you said. You hit it on the head. And I don't necessarily take it back, but I do realize what I said, and I do realize there was no reason for saying that. I'm pro plant medicine. I believe that um, there's definitely things that plant medicine helps with as far as like physiologically, I guess you could say,
See.
making synapses, making connections, neuroplasticity, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. There's definitely those aspects to it that I think are important, and even like you said, like in this moment, like super important to us understanding ourselves as beings, right? As
See.
multidimensional beings, because
Yeah.
there's an aspect of the plant medicine that allows you to ask not ask understand or kind of interact with interdimensional qualities that otherwise you might not be able to perceive.
It definitely is a gateway and a doorway. And I recognize that there has been an attack on psychedelics, as well as it's warranted because sometimes when people do psychedelics, they totally lose their mind and they can't come back.
Right.
And that's something that we need to be aware of, is like that is real and it's created a bad name for these things.
Sure.
Simultaneously, the very reason for our language and a lot of our social culture is a byproduct, from my perspective, of psychedelic use from early hominids.
Mm-hmm.
And so we literally exist because of psychedelics. And
Right.
we exist the way that we do because of psychedelics.
Sure. So interesting. I don't think thought we were going to go this way with the conversation, but I like this idea of talking about psychedelics and what you just said. What I was thinking in my head as you were saying that was, I took mushrooms when I was in college, and
Mhm.
the intention wasn't spiritual ascension or finding myself. The intention was, let's get fucked up. And I think that's probably a part of the reason for what you're saying, the bad name, is because the real psychedelics and the real work that I've seen is very, very sacred and very, very what's the word, intentional, right?
Mhm.
There's rituals to it. It's not just like, hey, let's just pop some mushrooms and go for a trip. It's like
Right.
there's a preparation mentally, there's a preparation physically, there's kind of like a sequence when you're led through it with a shaman or somebody who's facilitating, that kind of guides you through the different phases of seeing those aspects of reality and of yourself that you haven't seen before, which could be scary if you're just in college and you take a handful of mushrooms.
Also fun, right? Was it fun, Michael?
I think most of the time, I didn't do it a lot, but I can certainly remember there was probably one time or two that weren't so fun because
Mhm.
I just wasn't prepared for how deep and heavy it was and what was happening. I mean, it was I was in a different place at the time, right? I was just not as aware of like what it was even about, right? Life at that
Mhm.
point was about just kind of having fun. But I also want to say, I think, that's leading me to the idea that sometimes the less you know and the more you're just like, we that's not a bad thing, right? Because you're living in the moment, it's authentic, I think. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying all these things. Sorry, they're just coming out.
Okay, I'd like to speak to these points.
Yes.
Um, so currently on planet Earth, it's really common for people to go to festivals or parties and participate in psychedelics in these fields of existence. And it can be fun, and you get some insight. That's wonderful. And the reality for me in this situation is that when you do a psychedelic, what you're doing is you're opening up your energy field, your psyche, and connecting synapses. So what you're doing is, to some degree, collapsing timelines between past versions of you, future versions of you, and present versions of you that in that state can all communicate.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Similarly, you're also opening up the chasm that is the ancestors. And oftentimes with psychedelics like psilocybin, you'll suddenly find yourself feeling as though your grandmother is there, because she is. She actually is there all the time. But because you're on a psychedelic, you can actually perceive her or other ancestors. And so it's a time of communion. It's a time of prayer. It's a time of like deep introspection and outrospection. It's a time where the borders between ideas dissolve. It's a time when time dissolves. When you take psychedelics, for example, psilocybin, it can feel like you were in the experience for 20 days. And then you come out and you're like, what? It's only been 4 hours? Because time doesn't exist in those realms. The line between us and our dead ancestors does not exist in those realms. The line, all these lines are blurred and dissolved. And so it's a time of communion and preparation. It's also a time to get extreme clarity and to also figure out what you're currently interacting with that is an obstruction to your well-being. And this is how it was typically and traditionally used. I recently have been writing a play, Michael. I performed it twice, but I'm currently refining her contours. And it's called Elysium. Elysium is an old term for a festival that the Greeks used to do, where they would gather everyone from every social dynamic, the lowest to the highest of social castes, to come together and do their equivalent of LSD. And it was a social reset where they would worship the goddess. So my entire comedy sketch is literally serving people a microdose of psilocybin and doing a comedy show as if I am Aphrodite, speaking to humanity about love.
Wait, so you're dosing the audience first?
100% I'm dosing the audience.
Wow. Okay. This is new and interesting and innovative, I think.
It's to my little world over here in Costa Rica. That's not new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Tell me more. I think this is great.
So the whole concept of the show is the Romans and Greeks used to practice this, and a lot of indigenous people also practice this, that you bring everyone in the community together. You basically dose them with something, whether it be a organic form of LSD, psilocybin, ayahuasca, changa, jurema, whatever it is that society had access to, you serve it to everyone and you calibrate the entire society.
I was just going to say, it's like tuning everybody to a frequency, right? So everybody's on that same frequency. Okay.
Precisely. Yeah. So Elysium was the practice of gathering everyone in the Greek culture of every caste to come together, take medicine together, and recalibrate the system.
Wow.
And it was also a form of goddess worship, because Elysium was the time that they came together and did psychedelics and worshiped the goddess. So in my play, it's called Elysium. I'm playing Aphrodite. Everyone is served psilocybin. And then I do a comedy monologue. However, I have recruited friends to play different gods and goddesses. So since I am Aphrodite in the play, of course, there has to be a Mars, right? My favorite lover, friction. And the concept behind Mars being there is that Mars represents war. But our current understanding of war has been so adulterated. Simply, war means friction, because love by itself is pure being. That's why Aphrodite loves Mars, because Mars is the activation of friction. Friction could be music. Friction could be throwing a rock against another big boulder and just creating friction. Friction could be singing. Friction can be 1,000 things.
Mhm.
But for some reason, our society is committed to friction, meaning war.
Mm.
Friction could also be the most erotic lovemaking you've ever had, because Michael Zinn, I'm going to be honest with you. Have you ever had lovemaking without friction?
No, and honestly, I wasn't thinking war as you were talking about friction. I was thinking about lovemaking. I was thinking about that connection with, another human.
And this is why Aphrodite, pure being love, is so attracted to the energy of Mars, because Mars is friction.
Mm-hmm.
Mars gives movement to the beingness of love. It's the motor that gets love driving.
Wow. And Kim Princess says, I want to play a goddess. Kim, you are a goddess.
Kim,
Come
if
on.
you want to come to Costa Rica and wear a Greek goddess dress, I will give you a role. Who do you want to play is my next question.
There you go. I love this. This is I think you're onto something here, Suri. I mean, I don't know how common it is in your circle, but I mean, it sounds like, I think already I saw people in the audience saying this is interesting, like they're ready to sign up. And I think I love it. And somebody said also, I guess Elysium is also a good movie with Matt Damon.
Oh, okay. I will have to check it out.
But I love what you're talking about. And I know that for me, the past couple of years, talking about the shift, right, in humanity that's happening, a lot of that has come to really be the divine feminine kind of rising again,
She is rising.
Yeah. Amazing. No, I think it's amazing, and I'm all for it.
Can I tell you one of my favorite jokes in the play?
Sure.
I'm not gonna.
Do you want
I'm
to
not
give it
gonna.
away? Come on. I mean, you're already building up a good marketing campaign here.
Okay, so I'm not gonna give you the whole joke, but the premise of it is this. Okay, so while the monologue is going on, I have a friend cast as Jesus who's sitting right next to me, and you're thinking, or most people might be thinking, why is Jesus in the Greek and Roman pantheon? Because I'm combining Greek and Roman pantheons because they cross over so weirdly with just different names, but it's the same priests and priestesses, right?
Okay.
So like, why is Jesus sitting here? And I'm like, oh no, you guys didn't know that Jesus was part of the pantheon? Let me tell you. So when Aphrodite arose from the foam on the beach, she came up and she was like, and she was gorgeous as fuck. Venus de Milo, right? Like she comes out of the ocean and she's just like this sexy thing with all this long, flowing blonde hair and like nakedness on the beach. And Zeus is like, oh my God, I must have her. And Zeus approaches Aphrodite fully erect and ready to rumble. And Aphrodite is like, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, though. But Zeus still spreads his load all over the earth. He spreads his seed all over the earth.
Okay.
Immaculate conception. Here comes Jesus.
Wow.
And so this is why Jesus is involved in the pantheon in my comedy sketch, which also leads to this concept of Aphrodite is begging for the word love back, because what humanity is doing with the form of love is like guerrilla warfare. And even Jesus was saying, love, like love thy neighbor as thyself. But his PR department wasn't able to convey the message well. He needs a new PR department. And so next to me in the show is Jesus. And he's like, even I want my name back, because what you guys are doing in my name, in the name of love, is never what I asked for or represented.
I love it. I think that's great. This sounds amazing. I was asking you what you're up to, and you didn't tell me about the play until we already were live and started. You just told me now, but I think it's great. That's amazing. Wow. I don't know where to go from this.
Do you want to go into mantras? I'll sing you a song.
Yeah, if you want to do that. I mean, I wanted to talk about, I did want to catch up because I loved hearing about what you're doing. And I think for me and probably a lot of people who are in the spiritual community who kind of are on still on the mainland, let's put it that way, right? Because you're in beautiful Costa Rica. You know, I know for me, I'm vicariously living through these stories. You know, my dream, you know, I'm connected to my ancestors, to living with the earth. And so my dream is, you know, to be living on a farm. Like I have a friend who moved to Hawaii at one point, and he was doing I forget what you call those farms that you live on, right? You live on a farm and they let you stay there. But he would talk about like how in the morning he was digging up, you know, vegetables with his hands, and then in the evening they were served on the table, and it was like, it seemed like such an amazing connection, you know, to not only the earth but just to life, right? To the cycle of life, just to, you know, kind of just authentically be it, right? To just be it, be the cycle of life.
Be the cycle, be with the cycle. Yeah, absolutely.
So before you play your song and the mantras, and we talk about mantras and what they mean, I think that's even kind of how we got into the conversation. You were telling me about what you're doing with 2 different farm projects. So why don't we talk about that and give that some love?
I would love to speak about that.
Yes.
One thing that I'd like to start with is that I consider myself quite esoteric and multidimensional. And the way that I'm able to bring my multidimensionality into the physical reality is by chopping wood and carrying water. And I deeply love the phrase, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water.
I love that phrase.
And I can see a reality for myself in which I spend all of my time in the astral planes and up here. And that's actually deeply unsatisfying because I want to somehow translate heaven on earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I am in my esoteric and emotional and mental being, feeling very close to heaven, the way that I bring heaven through earth is actually through my vessel and through the physical activation that I bring to the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this has brought me very close to wanting to garden, to grow produce, to care for bees, sheep, cattle, you name it. And I'm very fortunate to live in Costa Rica and have really good friends with ample farms. And so on one of the farms, a friend of mine owns, I have been doing beekeeping there and going through their Mariolid bees, their stingless bees. They're so cute and they're so sweet. And I recently discovered that there's actually 3 different types of bees that he has on his land. He didn't even know that, but I found out through tending the honey.
Amazing.
And going out and connecting with the bees and like talking to them. Like for myself, I'm telepathically talking to the bees and telling them I'm coming in and I'm going to take the first layer of honey from the hive and I'll replace everything and you guys can build more. Thank you so much for your honey. Thank you for the wax. Thank you for the propolis. And I will tell you this, as I've been harvesting the honey, there's these little pockets inside the honey pods of straight propolis. And I don't mind at all sticking my finger in and eating the propolis, and it tastes just like ice cream. It's so good.
I'm not familiar with the word. What is that, propolis?
Propolis is like it's like a collection of bee pollen. Like if you've ever seen a bee go around and they have these big pockets of pollen on the sides of their body, that eventually goes into the hive and turns into a form of propolis, which is like bee interacted with pollen that's been curled into a ball, and it has honey bee medicine in it, as well as all the flower medicine rolled into one. And it has really high vitamin B, vitamin C, and vitamin D within it. So it's like basically taking a ultra vitamin that's also an allergenic. So Michael, if you ever go to a new region where you're having allergies, the first thing you want to do is get local honey and local propolis and eat it, because it will teach your body about the pollens around you and give you immunity to it.
Amazing. Wow. And
Mhm.
is that, did you always know that, or is this something you learned through working with the bees?
Years before I moved to Costa Rica, I was studying beekeeping
Okay.
because, okay, Michael, listen to this. I had this weird sense that the world was going to come to an end as we know it, and
Sure.
everyone would need to have a skill.
I have
And
that sense often.
the skill that I decided would be necessary was how to keep bees.
I love it. I love
So
it.
I already did know all of this information, and now it's activated because my friend happens to have beehives.
How amazing is that,
Mhm.
Suri? Oh my God, you're the best. I love this is why I love talking to you, because it's like I see it's like a mirror, you know what I mean? In so many ways, I see so many things that like I would love to express, and I would if I was in that situation, I could actually vicariously, as I'm listening to you talk about it, like almost experience it. And I feel like some of the people here in the audience too, because like everyone's saying how amazing it is, and like really responding with this happiness, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine that's what it is. So let me ask you a question. Is the honey, are you going to be putting out like a Suri Sawyer brand of honey, or is this just for the farm?
Yes, actually. So
Oh,
my friend and I are working on the farm together, and we will. All right. So back to psychedelics. We're
okay.
growing, we have intentions of growing certain medicines on the farm, as well as there is free ranging cacao. And in fact, I wish I could take you to my backyard and show you all the cacao that I have drying in my backyard right
I
now.
wish I could go into your backyard right now.
But we're growing cacao and we're making our own cacao. We have our own honey. We have our own cows. We have our own milk. Um, and we're also growing different medicines. And so it's not too long. We're not too far out from creating a brand of medicinal chocolates.
Wow.
And what we're calling them is called true currency.
Oh,
Because the reality is like when and if the world does come to a fucking crumble, what currency will you use?
hmm hmm
And that's one of the reasons that I'm taking stock in natural currency of like, if the world were to fall apart right now, I could offer you chocolate,
hmm
fish, honey,
hmm
meat, fruit.
hmm
What do you have to offer me?
right.
Everything that I am cultivating is the basis of reality. It's
I
the true
love it.
currency. And 90% of humanity is currently exchanging time for time, but
Mhm.
no real currency whatsoever.
I love what you're talking about. So you don't even know, like it's hitting so deep, so amazing. And as you were talking, I remember, and maybe this is something you can help with. I remember, okay, I'm trying to drink more water, right? You're supposed to drink lots of water. And so I'm like, all right, how do I drink more water? So I started adding honey into my water,
Mhm.
honey and lemon. And oh my God, it's just so good. It's just so good. And I'm like, how come there's all these bottled beverages, but there's no like simple like honey water? And I realize like it's hard to keep mixed, right? You'd probably have to figure out some way to vaporize the honey or somehow get it in there. But now I'm thinking about psychedelic honey water.
Yeah. Well, I was just at I feel very blessed to live where I live. You go to the local store and there's a refrigerator full of psilocybin kombucha.
Wow, really?
And you go to the little refrigerator section and there's every option of psilocybin, hape, like everything that you could imagine. It's all there and available for you.
Wow. So psilocybin obviously is legal in Costa Rica.
To a degree.
Okay.
You have to sell within certain rights and different things. And
Mhm.
but yes, pretty much like it's a little bit different than the States. Like, yes, I can walk into my local store and just purchase myself medicina.
Wow.
And my observation of the differences between worlds, like
Mhm.
where I am now and what I witnessed happening in the States, is that for me, what you just said felt strange.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
Because here, instead of going and buying like a bottled water with honey and lemon in it,
Mm-hmm.
you would buy a coconut and a lime
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and honey
Yeah.
from your neighbors,
Right.
or cultivate it yourself. And you're like, I've got a coconut, I've got lime, I've got honey.
I love that so much better. I mean, I do. Except, like I said, I'm here on the mainland, living mainland life. And
Okay, but here's what I want to say.
yeah, say it.
Okay, so my challenge against this mainland idea is, Michael, do you pay an HOA?
I do not.
You don't pay an HOA. Do you know anyone who pays an HOA?
Probably, but I'm not really aware that they do.
Do you pay any money toward mowing your lawn or paying for gardeners to come and tend your plant matter?
I do not. I rent the bottom part of a house, and the landlord takes care of that, and they actually do it themselves. They don't pay anyone.
So you probably do actually unknowingly pay into how the yard work is cared for.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I would love to see change in the continental United States is the amount of people who pay to water and curate any kind of plant matter, but none of it is edible. It doesn't make any sense. You could equally, for example, whatever you're paying to water your lawn could literally be a field of herbs you could turn into tea. Whatever you're paying to water could easily turn into beans you could eat, sweet peas, snap peas, like whatever you want. Whatever you're watering on your front lawn, why not make it a pumpkin patch?
Yeah.
You can create so much wealth right in front of you, but it's just this weird choice not to. As well as there's all these like condominium complexes where every single person is contributing to an HOA that is supposed to take care of the plant matter within the HOA. And why aren't we receiving a box of produce with every HOA bill that we pay?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Let's imagine that instead of just planting arbitrary, beautiful bushes, you were actually planting something that was edible. So everyone who paid an HOA was also receiving a box of produce once a month or twice a week. It's incredibly within our reach. Do you know that many states within the United States make it illegal to collect rainwater?
Yeah.
And do you know that many states within the United States actually make it illegal to grow living food in your front yard? You have to hide it and put it in your backyard.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's crazy. So let me ask you a question, because
okay, I know we weren't planning on going here, but this is where my passion lies.
This is great. No, this is great. And and even as I'm saying things to you, like it's almost like this guilt, right? Like, oh my God, I want to go live on a farm. I want to go do that. And well, then you could just throw back to me, well, then why aren't you? So those are the kinds of things that I say. You always kind of make me think, right, of what I'm saying. Why am I doing what I'm doing? How did you get to Costa Rica? Because we were talking earlier and you said you grew up in California, suburban. You had no idea that, you could grow food and you can, raise animals. What made you decide to leave? And I don't want to say the comforts, right? But
no, you can say comforts. That's very real.
But the what you knew, right? To leave everything that you knew, which is the comfort is what you know, right? It doesn't matter what it is. That's the comfort, right?
Yes. Okay. So when I was in my early 20s, I didn't realize that life could be different, but I have very vivid memories of driving around suburbia sobbing, like driving around Rancho Santa Margarita, California, Irvine, California, and driving through these complexes of houses where everyone had a lawn and people had flowers on their lawns and everyone has their own lawnmower. And I would cry. I would be like, I can't do this. I don't know how to get out of this, but I just know that I can't do this and I don't want to do this. It does not make any sense to me that everyone lives in their individual house with their individual lawnmower, with their individual blender and their crock pot, when in reality, if a handful of families got together, they maybe need one lawnmower and maybe two blenders and maybe one crock pot. Like the amount of consumption that is required to maintain what the average American thinks is a well-held house in their individual sovereignty didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't understand why we were all living in these separate houses with all of our separate appliances, paying for separate gardeners to come and take care of our lawns.
Sorry to interrupt. Everything you're saying, I resonate 1,000,000% with. I don't even understand, like, why do we mow the lawn? Like, why do we have to cut it to make it look a certain length every week? Like,
because we're trying to be royal British people with our fancy fucking lawns, and people don't even realize that it's a really deeply inbred thing to attempt to mimic the royals.
Yes. Oh, my camera's doing that thing again. I'm going to let it come in. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to continue to talk to you. And see there.
Okay.
See, I said I'm not going to worry, and it popped back in.
So from a pretty young age, I couldn't assimilate, but I didn't know what other options I had. And when COVID hit, I felt so blessed because it released me from something. And at the time I was teaching preschool, but when COVID hit and then I was like put at home for like 3.5 months, the thing I started doing was planting a garden. And I grew a bunch of food on the roof, in the backyard, like everywhere. I was like planting and growing and watering. And it ignited this thing inside of me. And it became bigger and bigger. Over time in my work, also during this time, teaching preschool, teaching yoga, I was also studying plant medicines. Ayahuasca, psilocybin, jurema were the primary medicines that I was studying. And just being in a country that makes it illegal to grow food in certain ways, makes it illegal to collect rainwater, makes it illegal to commune with plants like psilocybin, ayahuasca, and jurema. I was like, I don't want to be anywhere where the collective intuition says, make nature illegal. Also, I don't want to be anywhere where something is being sprayed everywhere. I couldn't stop the spraying. Like, I didn't want to spray on my garden, but that didn't mean that my neighbor wasn't spraying toxic chemicals for ants or termites or all these things, because there are alternative answers. But it's an uphill battle fight. So for me, it kind of hit this point when people were being vaccinated and I was choosing not to be vaccinated. And I want to say it had nothing to do with anything political. It was simply something in my being saying that's not the right move for me. And people were losing jobs. People had to get the vaccination to keep jobs. And I was quickly alerted, whatever is happening here right now is insane. And I do not want to be here. And that's when I came to Costa Rica and started to figure out that there were alternative ways for existing.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And fairly recent, you know. So it's been about 5 or 6 years that you've
5 years I've been here, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And apparently it's working, right? And I mean, wow, there's so many things that you said that I want to unpack. However, I do want you to sing for us. And
Okay.
I do want to talk about mantras. So let's bring that. How do we bring that together? The conversation together.
Okay, I'll say this. What's happening right now on planet Earth is unprecedented. We haven't seen this kind of collision of intelligence, old generations and new generations. Just, it's a big collision. And I find a lot of comfort in singing the mantras, prayers, and songs that have been sung by people for thousands of years. The song I'm about to sing is one of the oldest known mantras to mankind, and it's called the Mool Mantra. It's originally sung in Gurmukhi, which is the language that precedes Sanskrit. So it's ancient, 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 ancient. And they even say that the original language is not even from Earth, it's a light language coming from the stars, which would indicate that it's been sung even eons before the Earth was created.
Wow.
And I shall sing it for you, and then I shall tell you what it means. And connecting all these lineages, connecting over timelines, and even imagining that generations after me, this song will still be sung. So when generations after me sing it, somehow my soul will get tickled, and I shall be singing with them as well.
Love that.
All right.
Yeah, very nice. Beautiful. Hold on, let me fix this microphone setting so I'm not echoing.
Take your time, baby.
There we go. Yeah, that was beautiful. So tell us the origin of that and the story.
The etymology of the Mool Mantra. Ek, the grand Big Bang, the beginning. Ek Ankar. There's this big explosion of consciousness that was so frictionful that it created the Ankar, which is the forever expanding consciousness of God. Ek Ankar, Satnam. It is vibrating, it is real, it is true, it is the true name of God, or it is the true description of God, that there was so much friction at such a small point that it created an explosion of consciousness that is forever expanding, and it is true and it is real. And it is eternal, and it can never stop existing. And this thing, the Ek Ankar Satnam, the true essence of God that is forever expanding, wanted to understand itself. So it wanted to play a game. So it gave itself ignorance or veils. It said, okay, wait, hold on. If I am all knowing, all loving, eternal, infinite, and all powerful, what cool game could I play with myself to understand what I am? I know, to pretend like I am not all loving, that I am not all powerful, that I am not all presence, that I am not eternal. And so it created these veils to immerse us into this physical experience that, Michael, you and I are actually part of the same one life force entity. But right now we're playing a game, and you're Michael and I'm Suri.
Totally.
And you hear and taste and touch and smell, and those are your veils that actually separate you from the inner reality of complete totality wholeness. And so it says there's the Big Bang. It's forever expanding. It became curious about itself, so it started to play a game. So it created these realities where it could split itself into individual beings to know what it was like to be isolated, because in its true form, it's all one. But it was like, but what would happen if you were Michael and I was Suri and we were talking to each other? Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Right.
And then it says this, jop, repeat. It says, if you ever forget that you are playing a game, jop, repeat. I am all knowing. I am all loving. I am all powerful. I am infinite and I am eternal. And those are the phrases that are said to reverse the veils in case you get too deep in the illusion of the Maya. Okay,
Wow.
that's
And
casual. It's casual.
Amazing. What a better way to do that than through song. Right? I mean, that's really beautiful, beautiful. So let me ask you about, so the language is Sanskrit?
It's technically Gurmukhi, which is the language that preceded Sanskrit. But you could say that it's Sanskrit because it is, but originally it's Gurmukhi.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, so I got some stuff to learn here. But it's interesting that you went there, because we were having a conversation before the show about the connection and the act of what you just did, right? Like, and you even kind of prefaced it like all of the ancestors who have sung that before, and it's like a certain frequency. I feel like, what did I want to say about this? I feel like, so I can remember my grandfather. My grandfather was Jewish and helped build the temple, in the neighborhood. And I can remember seeing my grandfather with his prayer book, just reciting prayers and kind of bowing back and forth and saying the words. And I never really understood it. What is that, right? And then on the retreat that I went to Costa Rica, the guy who married Janice and myself, Davy Joe, is very, very spiritual and studies Sanskrit for years and years. And he had a Sanskrit book and he was doing that. And I was like, whoa, that's what my grandfather was doing. And I suddenly made the connection, and we were talking about this before, of the act of saying the words and being connected to the words on an energetic level it's such a personal thing, right? So even when you were singing that, like, you were experiencing this personal energy through it, but you were also transmitting this energy that everybody listening to was experiencing and processing through their own lens. But I think, at least for me, you can feel those aspects of it, right? Those ancient aspects, or those intentional aspects of it. I just think it's amazing, and like I said, it's like I'm almost envious, right? Of like, I would love to feel that. I would love to be able to open a book and just like not see words that I have to read, but just feel this energetic connection to the symbols and to the sounds that the symbols make when I speak them aloud.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It does. And one of the things that personally in my work, especially in ancestral work, is my mourning for the reality that currently what we're experiencing in humanity is a deep disconnection from our ancestry. So I, as a white woman who grew up in America, and my ancestors on both sides of my family, when you trace back ancestry, all came over on the Mayflower, which meant that they were indentured servants, which they were slaves. And they came here at the inception of America, and all culture that would have maybe been inherited to me was completely lost. And so if I wanted to sing the songs of my ancestors, I don't even know where to find them. I don't know what they sound like. I don't know what they sang. I don't know what they said. And to add to that, I'm a mutt. So like my DNA is a mixture of hundreds of different cultures.
Sure.
So if I wanted to connect to my lineage, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I almost feel like you wouldn't need to know where to begin because you could really begin anywhere.
And that's why I was personally very attracted to the lineage of the Sikh tradition, because the first time I heard the Mool mantra, I'd never heard it before, but I knew it. I knew it. I was like, I don't know how I know this song, but I know this song.
Sure.
And so one of the things that I think a lot of humans currently crave is the way to be able to connect to their lineage that may have been lost. And we are very blessed that there are certain lineages that have not been broken. And we can actually resonate back to our own ancestry by connecting to some of these things. And I think it gets convoluted because of this term called cultural appropriation, which I think is both valid and invalid. Speaking of cultural appropriation, I have a very diverse spiritual belief system and background. And I had a really beautiful Tico friend of mine, a native Costa Rican woman, come to me and literally say to me, Suri, I feel so bad for you. And I was like, why? And she said, because you're white, the only thing that people will accept of you is if you are Christian. You don't actually have spiritual freedom. And I see how you connect to the ayahuasca medicines, and I see how you connect to the prayers, and I see how you connect to Eastern indigenous traditions, and no one will actually let you have it. And then she handed me a feather and said, you can wear this in your hair and believe whatever you want. I support you. And it's true. There's something about my complexity and my upbringing that has, if I were to fully go full force into a lot of the belief systems that I genuinely believe in, I know that I face a lot of criticism and judgment. Even wearing these feather earrings is like a risk at it, like, who does she think she is? She's not a shaman. Yes, I am. I'm just white though.
Right. It's interesting that you say that because, and I'm imagining you do see that a lot, right? But like, I don't, because of who I am, right? I mean, I see anybody, I mean, you specifically, we're friends, and like, I've never been like, oh, why is she dressed so weird? Like, I was always just like, how cool is that? Like, I just love the way you dress and the way you express yourself. It feels very authentic to me. It doesn't feel like appropriation, or anything like that. It feels like authenticity. And I mean, I guess, and I'm all for that. And, I'm looking forward to the day I run away. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, Michael, I got places for you, bro. I got farms for you to come stay on. I've got honey for you to harvest. I've got cows for you to milk. I got cheese for you to make.
Now you're just being a temptress.
Can I tempt you with my cows and my sheep?
Oddly enough, yes.
It is. It's the tempting thing. And
yeah.
Okay. We have to wrap up, I know. So here's what I want to say.
It's okay.
Every single human on earth right now, whether they realize it or not, belongs to a long heritage of information. A lot of the information is actually written in the codes of the earth. I consider myself a very strong psychic and mystic, and I have learned most of my intuitive qualities from engaging with the planet herself, through the rivers, through the trees, through the plants, through the bees, all of the things. All the codes are here. And something is currently happening in the westernized world where nature is being eliminated slowly, and to the point that, can I make a guess, Michael, you do not know where your food comes from.
I know what you're saying, and I'm gonna say, like, specifically, like, where my market gets its food and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm not gonna agree with you in the way that I do feel like I'm aware of, like, that's something that I'm missing, and that's something that I'm detached from, and and less me because I'm a little bit older, but more so, Janice's 19-year-old kid, right? Like,
Yeah.
no idea of, like, the process of, like, an animal growing and a crop growing and harvesting and all of
Okay,
it.
but Michael, I'm going to challenge you one more time.
Sure.
When you eat an apple, do you know where the apple comes from?
I mean, I guess I'm not sure what you're asking, like, specifically, or like,
Yeah, like where did your apple come from?
it comes the apple that I'm eating, and this is why I don't eat as many apples, because I don't get them from the right spot, is coming from probably a freezer that has been in for 5 years.
Right. But my question even is deeper,
Yeah.
is like, what country does that apple even come from?
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Like, where does your food come from?
Yeah. No, you're right. I don't know.
So 90% of the westernized world has no idea where their food even comes from. And this is the thing that I would love to see a drastic change in through the lineage of remembrance, is like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the apple came from your backyard?
Yes.
Hey, wouldn't it be cool if it was actually like in the little community that I live in? Like, I've got a ton of citrus and apples and cacao and avocados and all these things and chickens and all these, like, and I can literally say, this apple came from this tree. I know exactly where it came from.
I love that.
This lemon came from this tree. I know exactly where it came from. This pumpkin came from this neighbor. I know exactly where it grew.
I love that.
And I don't know how we got so far from this, but I would love to see humanity to return to, hey, where'd you get your bread?
Me too.
Oh, there's a lady literally in my little town. There's a store up the street.
Yeah.
I can't even call it a store. There's 2 side-by-side buildings, and it's a family. One aspect of them makes sourdough bread, and the other one are cheese makers. And so you go up there, you visit the family, you can get milk, cheese, butter, and bread, all from the same family, and every ingredient was grown like right there. And so I love knowing where everything that I consume comes from. And I would also love to see this kind of transmit. It used to be the way that US was. My grandfather, actually, he's still living. He's almost 90.
Wow.
And he says to me often, he's like, you chose right. Everything you're living is how the US was when I was in my 20s.
Amazing.
And I've watched it deteriorate and I grieve, but you went and found it.
It's amazing.
Yes. And now my current project is to make sure that Costa Rica does not become another United States. And also to take these codes back to the United States. So anyone who's listening, if you have space in your garden to plant pumpkins or beans or anything, please start planting it. Grow your own food just for the kicks and giggles of it, and make it the new trend.
I love it. I love it, Suri. Really, I love what you just, that story of your grandfather and that respect and that knowing, that acknowledgement of what you did and the intention behind it. Really amazing. And somebody had said earlier that you're thriving, Suri, you're thriving. And I definitely see that. I can remember, there was a time maybe a year ago where you were like, kind of like leaving the hostel and, you didn't know what was going on. And you were still Suri, right? I never had any doubts. I never had any doubts that everything was going to be fine. But here you are today, like just glowing, thriving, and transmitting this amazing message, and just, like if only so all of us could transmit that much love for humanity, and the well wishes for the other people who are here also, it would be such a much better place. I love it. Evelyn says, yes, you have become radiant.
Thank you, Evelyn. And also, anyone who wants to come visit me in this magical world of clean air and clean water and like great produce and like fresh cheese and fresh sourdough bread, let me know. I've got 2 extra guest bedrooms. You're welcome to stay.
I'm gonna let you know soon. I think I might have to format my own personal retreat.
Come on down, baby. I got psychedelics and fresh produce.
And pumpkins.
I have a whole pumpkin patch. It's so pretty.
I love it. And chickens.
Yes, and chickens.
Amazing.
And cows and sheep.
Amazing. Sorry, I knew this was going to be so much fun. I love talking to you. I love reflecting. I love living vicariously. All of the things that happen when we get together. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully we'll get together again soon.
We will, Michael.
And thank you guys. Thank you everybody for being here. Such an amazing supportive group. We feel you when we do this stuff. I mean, I know Suri feels the same way. I know Jennifer Rose feels the same way. We all love this. We're all here because of this amazing community, and this amazing knowing that we are community, that we are, a collective soul. Collective Soul. That's a good name for a band. Thank you, Vivian, for always being here. Again, I love it when, like, you're in Costa Rica, right? And so it's like I feel some of my energy is there, and Vivian is in Hawaii, so I feel some of my energy is there. I love it so much. Yes, Evelyn, Love Fest. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, Suri. We will definitely speak soon, and everybody else, enjoy. And thanks for coming, and come on back next week. You might as well. It's going to be fun.
Ciao, ciao, Homo sapiens.
Peace.